I'm Nick Mohr from the University of Iowa and the chair of the SAEM Grants Committee. I'm here with Dr. Bryn Mumma.
I'm an associate professor at UC Davis and vice chair of the SAEM Grants Committee.
We're here today to talk with you about SAEM grants. Our goal is to provide some insight into the process and to the review of SAEM grants, and to encourage you to think of SAEM when you're looking for a source of funding for your research or education activities. We don't have any conflicts of interest to report. Our objectives today are to identify funding opportunities available from SAEM that might align with your personal research or education interests. We'll talk a little bit about the application process, deadlines, and application elements for SAEM funding, and then we'll talk about some specific elements of successful applications so that you can strengthen the applications that you submit to the SAEM Foundation. Over the last several years, SAEM has been increasing the amount of awards that it has offered for research and education activities. In fact, in 2019, SAEM awarded $685,000 in research and education funding in 13 different grant programs. Those funds come from your donations to the SAEM Foundation. Donations are aggregated together in a corpus of funding, and the earnings off of those funds are used to fund SAEM grants. One of the things that's unique about SAEM grants is that they're really intended for people who are building a career in research or education and emergency medicine. So one really important aspect of those grants is the trainee opportunities. There's an SAEM and EMF grantee workshop every year for those who have been funded through these mechanisms to learn more about grant opportunities for the future, how to strengthen your research, and how to be competitive for future funding opportunities. SAEM grants are span 1- and 2-year awards. Some of the largest SAEM grants that are available are the Research Training Grant, the Research Large Project Grant, the Education Research Grant, and the GEMSTAR Supplement. In addition to those 2-year awards, we also have a number of 1-year grants. Many of those are sponsored or co-sponsored by SAEM academies or even other organizations that work with SAEM to offer emergency medicine funding opportunities. This year, we have one additional funding opportunity for those who are conducting research related to COVID-19. The time of application for that is getting very close. So please consult the website and apply for that if you're doing work in that area. You can find updated information on the SAEM website either through the link listed on the slide here or by searching for SAEM funding opportunities to learn more about the criteria for each of these grants and eligibility. SAEM grants follow a standard timeline. Typically, in May, requests for proposals are posted to the website, and the deadline for applications is in August. Please check the website for details about the specific grant program that you're interested in, because we have several that are off cycle. On this standard cycle, we accept applications up to the deadline. Late applications can't be accepted. And then we review those applications at a series of meetings in October. The SAEM Grants Committee makes funding recommendations based on a scoring rubric to the SAEM Foundation Board, who makes final funding decisions. Acceptance letters are sent in December, and funding on the typical application cycle starts on July 1st. The SAEM Grants Committee reviews grants in accordance with the NIH review criteria, and Dr. Mumma will be talking about that over the next several slides. Those scores and summary statements will be released to all applicants at the time that acceptance letters are sent.
So how do you create a successful application? I want to shift now to the review process for SAEM Foundation grants to discuss what SAEM reviewers are looking for in each element of the grant application. The SAEM Foundation, as Nick mentioned, generally follows the NIH approach to scoring, in which applications are scored from 1 to 9, with 1 being the best possible score and 5 being the worst. Applications are scored, 9 being the worst. Applications are scored in several categories and assigned an overall impact score. Let's take a closer look at each category. So first, we look at the candidate and the investigator. Much of the information for this category comes from the biosketch and the candidate statement. The first two criteria are fairly tailored to the SAEM Foundation. First, reviewers look for a commitment specifically to emergency medicine research. They also look for a commitment to SAEM, as evidenced by involvement in the organization. If you've participated on a committee, led a didactic, or presented your research previously at SAEM, highlight that in your application. These two things are items that might not be highlighted in applications to other funders and can be easily overlooked. But for many of you, they present an opportunity to get credit during the review process for your research, educational, and professional activities. The other two criteria in this category are more general. Reviewers look at whether an applicant has the training, experience, and expertise to lead the proposed project. Closely tied to this is a track record relevant to the application. Exactly what is required for each of these categories is really determined by both the grant mechanism and the proposed project. For example, a candidate for the large project grant would be expected to have substantially more research training, publications, and perhaps even a track record of grant funding than someone who's applying for a research training grant. For almost all grants, demonstrating that you have completed and published in some format at least a small project in a content area relevant to the proposal is always helpful. For the research training grant, the training plan is a critical part of the application. These grants are designed really to propel junior faculty on a path to independence, and the training plan is as important as the project itself in achieving that goal. With that said, the training plan must be closely tied to and complement the research strategy as well as the candidate's long-term career goals. While the training plan may include a formal degree program, selected seminars and short courses that meet the candidate's needs may be equally appropriate in some situations. Finally, the training plan should have a timeline that includes milestones and accountability. A successful training plan might be marked by achievement of a degree or mastery of specific research skills. The next section is significance. Reviewers want to see that the applicant is addressing a problem that's important. It's specifically important to emergency medicine, clinicians, patients, and educators, and that it has the potential to advance our field. Reviewers also look for innovation. They want to see something original in the research strategy. While reviewers may be able to ascertain which aspects of a project are innovative on their own, it's much more effective for the applicant to highlight which aspects of the project are novel. The development of new technology, educational curricula, clinical decision tools, novel diagnostics and therapeutics, anything is also considered under innovation. Now the research strategy. This is probably the section of the application where most applicants spend the most time, and it certainly can make or break an application. This section needs to be carefully thought out and clearly explained. While all grant reviewers have emergency medicine expertise, their depth of knowledge in the content of your specific application will likely vary. Reviewers look for projects to have scientific and technical merit. For example, are the study design and analysis appropriate for the question? Are the outcomes and other key variables clearly defined? Does the study minimize bias? Is it adequately powered? Alongside this, reviewers look for evidence that the study will be feasible within both the budget and the timeline of the grant mechanism. It's very common for applicants to overestimate how quickly they can complete a project or how many resources might be needed to complete the project. Strong applications will provide clear calculations for the number of eligible participants, the anticipated capture rate, and when applicable, a detailed follow-up plan. If the use of an external data set or other external resources is proposed, evidence of permission to use the data or access to the resources should be provided. Finally, reviewers want to see that researchers have considered the next steps beyond this project. The research team is another critical component of any grant application. First, reviewers will look to see that the team includes a member with relevant content expertise to match each key piece of the grant. The biosketches and letters of support are essential for highlighting each team member's expertise and describing their expected contributions to the project. In addition to content expertise, reviewers want a track record of research productivity and funding in team members. They want to know that team members have completed previous studies in the past, suggesting that they'll do the same with this investment from the SAEM Foundation. Reviewers also want to see dedicated commitment to the project from each team member. These should be described in strong letters of support and reflect both the intellectual and time commitments toward the project. This is really important for team members in unfunded roles, such as mentors in the training grant. Finally, for any mentors, reviewers look for a track record of prior successful mentees, as well as an individually tailored plan for mentoring the current applicant. Finally, it's important not to overlook the environment and institutional commitment. Here, reviewers are looking to see that your department and your institution have the resources necessary for successful completion of the project. It's easy to overlook things that you may take for granted, like access to clinical research coordinators, or even an adequate ED patient volume to enroll patients and complete the study. But these really should be highlighted in your application. Reviewers also want to see evidence of commitment from the department and the institution to the candidate. Sometimes this is in the form of a secure fellowship or faculty job position, but in almost all cases, it includes some financial contribution. Perhaps your department will cover the cost of travel to present your research, your mentor will provide lab space or equipment, or your CTSC will provide informatics support. If you're applying for the training grant that requires 75% protected time, your chair's letter must state the commitment to providing 75% time very explicitly in that letter. Finally, reviewers want to see evidence that your institution is a place that will really foster your growth as an emergency medicine researcher. The environment may offer seminar series, research forums, networking opportunities, etc. But reviewers want to know how your institution will help rather than hinder you in achieving your goals. Along these lines, we as the Grants Committee want to help you achieve your goals. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us with questions either about the formatting or about the review criteria as you prepare your application.
Thanks, Bryn. That's wonderful. So in conclusion, the things that we want you as potential grant applicants to know at the end of our presentation. Number one, find the right grant mechanism for your training, expertise, and your research idea. All of those grant mechanisms are available on the SAEM website, and you're encouraged to review those directions in detail. The other piece of this is that each of those requests for proposals have all the elements that are required as part of the grant application. You don't need to fill all the pages, but you do need to adhere to the formatting requirements that are laid out in the request for proposals. Read that request for proposals and the review criteria carefully. Think about the criteria that the grants committee subcommittees will be using to evaluate your application and score it in parallel with other applications in that program. And then finally, successful applicants have both a strong project and they also have a good argument that that project contributes to the development of future emergency medicine research and education leaders. That oftentimes is made through a strong relationship with a mentor and senior colleagues who read your application even before it's submitted and help you to strengthen the quality of the application. That concludes our presentation today. This is going to be the first, this will be a presentation before several webinars, so pay attention to the SAEM listserv as those webinars will lay out a series of meetings over the next several months to talk about the new application system for SAEM grants. If you have further questions, please feel free to reach out to either Dr. Mumma or I by email. Our emails are listed on the slide here, and we'd be happy to talk with you further. Thanks for your time.